Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, March 21st, 2018. Hope everything's going well for you guys. Do a quick little update for tonight. I've got several things I want to mention. This has been a very explosive week, in my opinion, of lots of information coming out about the Grand Solar Minimum. And I will post the article that I really want to feature after this broadcast. But first, let's get into our space weather report first. And then I'll elaborate a little bit more. Taking a look at our current solar wind speeds right now, we are at 360.7 kilometers per second with a density of only 6.2. Looking at our sunspots today, we do not have any. This will make now 3 days in a row with no sunspots, 43 days in 2018. Take a look at our KP indices. We are in the quiet side as well, with a KP of 2 and a 24-hour max of 2 as well. And here's the SDO's latest imagery of the coronal hole situation. They're putting it 3 different regions. Obviously, one's already facing away from Earth, or beginning to, and then we have some that are coming right now. NOAA has forecasted a arrival of the solar wind on March 22nd for minor G1 storm activity. So nothing to write home about, but just wanted to make everyone aware. Once again, March 22nd, we will be under a watch for a G1 geomagnetic class storm. So we'll keep our eyes open on that. We should see some increased solar wind speed, somewhere between 475 and 550 kilometers per second, if that. Go ahead and look at our oh, speaking of sunspots, real quick, I want to mention, and I want to thank the Starman, by the way. He tweeted out a very interesting tweet earlier today. This guy does his own research, folks. He's a very trusted source of information. He hasn't steered me wrong yet, and I don't think he's going to in the near future or in the long term either. But he puts, heads up, could be signs of the first glimpse of cycle 25. Let us see if it revolves or decays before we see it Earthside. Too high to be associated with cycle 24, depending on polarity. And here's the graphs that he put up as well. I'll go ahead and leave this here for a second. Take a quick look at it, folks. So once again, good catch, Starman. He also brought my attention to an earlier article as well. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. Hello. Okay, so more proof that Arctic sea ice isn't going anywhere. And I know you've seen me jokingly put up the Earth null and clicking on parts of the Arctic for sea ice. Now, I looked at this article today. This talks about, the best part about this paper is that it does talk about how in these grand solar minimums, especially the one that we're in or heading into, this type, it is common for stratospheric warming to happen in the Arctic. Now, the one thing that upsets me the most about this is that here lately we've come under fire for a lot of people saying that the Arctic is melting, that it was 45 degrees above average, and that the sea ice is melting, and that we have low sea ice. That's absolutely false. I've seen so many charts and graphs today of thickness of the sea ice right now in the Arctic, and guys, it's the thickest. If anything, the very top of our poles right now, especially in the North Pole, we're experiencing temperatures in the minus 40s Celsius. That ice freezes very fast, and it's getting very thick up there. So this article is packed full of information. I recommend you take a little time and go through this carefully, because like I said, there's a lot in here to absorb. But nevertheless, another great find by the Starman, who I find a very reliable source of information. He's helping everybody in the Grand Solar Minimum community. He's like the utility player. You can put him at any position on a baseball field and he's going to do well. So works well with others, and if anything, he is a bridge for the Grand Solar Minimum community. So once again, David, great find, and thank you for your hard work and your constant dedication to this topic. Looking at our TSI report, right now we came in at a 1361.141. Not much of a rise, but a slight one at that. So we've been in the low part of the 1361 values here for a while. That has not changed. And I think I got all the space weather. Yeah, I did. Okay. So let's move on to some headlines, and then I will go ahead and get to our weather forecast. The one that I really wanted to show everybody was the watchers put together a very, very explicit article here that shows the hail that was reported in Texas. Now, I know we had some massive storms in Alabama where we saw tornadoes. We had 9 tornadoes. We had large hail reported. But this is incredible. You know, this right here is probably more golf ball size, but just tons of pictures coming in from Texas of the size of this. There's the baseball size hail right there. Can you imagine getting hit with this? I mean, not even on the head, just on the shoulder or on the back. You're just outside trying to get in your home and you get struck by one of these bad boys. That's going to leave a mark. But just absolutely incredible. And, you know, somebody said something about to me earlier about how that, you know, Texas gets hail, Texas gets tornadoes, nothing new to see. What does this have to do with the grand solar minimum? Well, all year long, and especially in 2017, we've seen pictures from Europe, Spain, France, Italy, you name it, Brazil, all over the world with sizes of hail like what we're seeing here in Texas and Alabama. Alabama got some of the same sizes as well, guys. But, you know, we've talked about hail being a bigger hail being an increased because of the grand solar minimum, because of cosmic rays, because of the cooler atmospheres. We are seeing more and more extreme weather, and in correlation to what Starman was talking about, the sunspot, you know, if it does hold up, and it is in fact the official beginning of solar cycle 25, we're almost a full year ahead of schedule if that happens. And this all ties into an article that Mari found today. It's titled "Rogue Sunspot Spoils Chances for Long-Term Space Weather Forecasting." And it's kind of misleading at first. When I saw the headline, I was like, oh, they're going to try to debunk that we're not heading into a minimum. Actually, excuse me, it's actually quite the opposite of what they're doing here. And the person that wrote this piece here is also part of the research team of a university in Canada, I do believe. But they're talking about the sunspot cycles here. And the thing that really sticks out the most to me that Mari brought up is the activity that we had in September. And we've spoke about this here recently. We saw 2 X-class flare events in September of 2017, which also, you know, we had some extreme weather on our planet during that month as well. If you remember, we had Hurricane Harvey really kicked off the month. And you know, it's kind of weird, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mari, but September and March, with the hurricanes that we had coming through in September, and then the nor'easters we've had in March, you know, it's almost kind of, except the difference is that we didn't have all the sunspots in March to, you know, fuel the hurricanes. So what's the excuse for these nor'easters? Obviously, it has a lot to do with the way the polar vortex was set up. We had blocking in Greenland. But, you know, when you found this article, what was your first, like, impression when you were actually soaking in the words? And I just want to get your kind of take on this.
Well, when I read the article, it just sort of gave me chills, because when you see articles like this, it's very sobering, because you realize more and more everything you've been researching is more and more real. And essentially this article goes over and talks about, you know, similar work to like what Valentina goes over, what these universities are going over. But essentially rogue sunspots can trigger grand minima. And as you read through it, it explains why and the technicalities of it. And, you know, the basic summary of it is these sunspots, this particular incident that happened, I believe it was I don't have the article in front of me, I believe it was in September.
Yes.
You know, they are, evaluating it further to see if it could be considered a rogue sunspot. Now, to me, they're playing it off at the end like, oh, we don't know, we're going to research it more. But to me, it's like they know something significant went on with that sunspot. They're analyzing it further, and it's just another piece of the puzzle that shows we are definitely going into this grand minimum. There's more and more signs, you know, at every turn, with every new scientific paper that comes out confirming, yes, indeed, we're going into a grand solar minimum, and the consequences are going to be great. I mean, look at the article we shared yesterday on Forbes, and look at the TV shows we've shared. I mean, no, not TV. Fox had an article recently. Sky News had a program on their TV show. So, I mean, it seems to me this year is like the year that everything's sort of trickling out. You know, we're getting that confirmation. You know, when before, I remember when we started this channel, we got laughed at. We had, like, you know, hordes of debunkers, like, shoving global warming down our throats. They thought we were crazy and all that, but every step forward we make, it just confirms more and more, hey, we're changing and we need to adapt. There's nothing we can do about it. It's all out of our hands. The only thing we can do is evolve and come up with solutions to, you know, adapt to the changes in this wild weather that's going to come with it. We just have to look back in history to see what has happened, and, you know, basically look forward, learning from our past, and, you know, get through it.
And, you know, the reason why this article is brought up, and it's just kind of strange how Mari found this article right after, pardon me, Starman sent us a heads up about the sunspot starting off solar cycle 25. This to me confirms, and when you guys go over this article, you'll understand why we're kind of like, you know, making a big deal about this. But this to me, they're telling us that we're going to be heading into, it's possible. I guess they shouldn't say in stone, but what they're implying is that we are heading into, if this information holds to be true with the rogue sunspot region back in September, this is an indicator that we are going into a Maunder minimum type of minimum. And I wrote an article for this on our website. I'll post it after the show. But my thoughts are, there's no more me trying to put that soft landing question mark, maybe it won't be as bad anymore to this. After reading this report, I now know that week by week in 2018, they are slowly disclosing and just trying to get a feel of how the feedback's going to be to the rest of the world when they start releasing this information. And I think this is a clear sign that not only are we heading into a grand solar minimum, but we're going to be getting really cold mini ice age type atmosphere. So no more maybe it won't be as bad thoughts from my head anymore. This article and yesterday's information, just over the last couple of weeks, I'm really starting to see why so many scientists are starting to think that we're going into a 400-year minimum. Some even think that the Eddy minimum is going to be as long as 1,000 years. We looked at paperwork earlier that showed that after solar cycle 25, that it's being predicted now that these solar cycles are going to be weaker than 24 and 25. Now, 24 is already at its lowest activity in over 100 years out of all the solar cycles. So if they're saying that 25 is going to be a lower output cycle than 24, and 24 is already breaking 100-year records, you know, imagine what 26 and 27 and 28, because folks, the prediction chart that I saw has them rolling all the way out to 29 and 30, that each cycle that goes by will have less and less sunspot activity. And Mari and I, you know, we look at this stuff on our free time, and a lot of times Mari will go back and refer to the Maunder minimum. She really believes, after all the papers that she's read, all the abstracts that she's gone through, she really believes, and I'm convinced with her as well, that we're going to be in a Maunder minimum type lull for
worse
for a very long time. So, you know, I know we're always here to like try to be truthful and, you know, not be sensationalists here, but unfortunately this is not a sensational claim. This is a sobering claim. This is a sobering paper, and this really puts things in perspective and makes me feel like that the reason why we see so many people now getting interested in the grand solar minimum is because there are more scientists now writing papers that are confirming, indeed, we are going into a mini ice age.
Well, and here's another thing. You might want to turn that for me, Jake. I am putting together a video about Africa and just some of the wild things that have been going on there. I started this morning and I just was like, wow. I got sort of distracted, actually. I don't know when I'll have the video out, but what sort of shocked me was when I was going through these articles, a lot of people are talking about the water shortages that are going to be happening in Cape Town. I guess they may only have like a couple months of water left. There's infrastructure issues and all that. It's just interesting to me to read these articles and hear about all the infrastructure plans, and the dates are what really stand out to me. These dates are like, by 2025 this must be done because the population in, you know, Asia and Africa are going to be this, but by 2050 this is gonna happen and we need this and this and this done infrastructure wise. And you know, to me it's like, you just watch this unfold. These countries are going to really ramp up infrastructure, and it's going to be to support populations that can't live in certain hemispheres by 2050. I believe that, truly.
And what Mari's referring to is that she found a bunch of stuff today of Africa. They're getting ready to sign an agreement over there.
Or they have today.
Oh, they have. So
like, I know at least 40.
So officially today, they've signed with the majority of countries in Africa that there's going to be no more taxes on trade. So it's free trade over there. And, you know, this to me, Mari's right. There's a lot of dates in there, 2025, 2050. A lot of those dates would kind of make you wonder if they're related to what we're getting ready to go through right now. And it also makes you wonder what plans that the world has for Africa to beef up this strategy of getting more infrastructure built. It's not like they don't need it over there. This will be a welcome thing in Africa, but concerns of population right now, overgrowing, that they're saying, and by 2050, that over half of the population of the world will come from Africa. So, or the half of the increase of the population comes from Africa. And I think that goes to show, because they know they're going to have people migrating to that region in the coming decades, with now people being able to have the Free Trade Act in place. This might create...
I'll share that article when I put out that video about Africa. I'll try to get it out tomorrow. I'll share that article.
And while we're talking about a video, before I do the weather report, you know, folks, Mari and I work very hard. We produce our own content here at the Grand Solar Minimum. So whenever you see the videos with the subtitles, you know, that's produced by myself or Mari. Whenever you see a video with the speaking parts, that's produced and written by Mari. Before the comment section gets littered with negative comments, I think some of these people who leave the negative comments should watch the video. I'm not going to mention who they are or what they said, but we had a couple of people make comments about what another channel had said, and pretty much echoed everything that Mari had said in the video. And this is what video I'm referring to is the one about the Yellowstone articles. Look, all Mari was trying to put awareness to is that this is being sensationalized in some other news media outlets, you know, and before you criticize it being clickbait or fear porn, give it a watch. Mari had some very good points. Mari, what did you make out of that when you made that video today? Like, what was your whole mindset, the purpose of putting that video together, so people may understand why, you know, the title may seem misleading, like, oh, she's going to harp on about how dangerous this situation is. No, it's actually the opposite.
Well, my history on YouTube is I really like, I'm very passionate about combating sensationalism on social media. It bothers me. When I was young and naive, I fell prey to it, And it bothers me genuinely when I see things sensationalized and I see people getting scared. And my biggest thing is people get in these rabbit holes, and it's so important not to lose focus. You have to really, when you are evaluating a subject, you have to stay zoomed out and be objective and look at both sides and really see where the information is coming from. This volcano article spawned from scientific research, which I provided links in that volcano video, and they were investigating essentially why Yellowstone was where it was, how it evolved, and all that. They found the magma chamber, and that sort of turned into, you know, an article to me, the sort of an alarmist title, like, oh my God, Yellowstone's gonna blow because of this and this and this, and you know, there's earthquakes here and geysers there, and oh my God. What people need to realize is these small earthquakes and these geysers are the earth releasing pressure, and it's a good thing. It's not something where you should be alarmed. And I know a lot of people that get sucked into certain rabbit holes want to hang on to certain concepts, but I've been there and done that, and I've evaluated the situation long enough where you have to Jake, you're being noisy. You have to just understand there's two sides to every story. That specific scientific article was not intended to be alarmist or raise concerns. The geyser going off, to me, is a good thing that it's going off because it's releasing pressure. So, you know, a lot of people are getting mad either way. You know, I'm getting people saying that my video was fear porn. I guess they didn't watch it because I thought I was clear enough, sort of making the Express look like they were sensationalizing it. I don't know. And then other people, you know, sort of questioned. I guess they thought I was confused. I don't know. Either way, I just, you know, I appreciate the people that are actually watching the video, taking the information in and understanding it without leaving goofy comments. That's all. I love you guys in the chat. You all are wonderful. Back to Jake.
All right. So I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to understand, you know, and what better way to hear it from the maker herself. But like I said, Mari and I make our own videos. We put together our own footage. Mari does her own editing. She programs her own effects. I mean, take a watch before you make comments that are totally opposite of what the video actually stands for. Or just don't comment at all, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we'll go ahead and take a look at tropical tidbits here. We are looking at our winter storm Tobe, which thankfully some of the totals have been kind of tamed down here a little bit with the snow. This thing is going to move out quick overnight. By tomorrow morning, it's going to make its way up the coast, and by late Thursday, we should see it in Maine, making its way up to Canada. But this system will be done dumping the snow as late as early Thursday morning. That system will be completely gone, and then we do have a beautiful clear map all the way from the East Coast till you get to the Four Corners, and then we start to get really messy over here. And the situation in California is not looking good, especially in the Sierras. They did predict snowfall in the feet. That looks like that's going to continue. We are on the 22nd. The bulk of this rain is going to fall between now and tomorrow. And finally, by early Friday, we do see that this system is making its way and departing California, only to have another system enter the Northwest, Washington, Oregon, Northern California. You guys are going to get nailed again. And by this weekend, Saturday, 24th of March, this low pressure system will be over the heartland of the United States. Snow to the northern plains and the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then we get rain for Indiana and Ohio. Now, here's where the forecast is going to be really tricky. We talked about this yesterday. We see the snow line here, and it's a very, very thin area. So it's you know, it's talking about hit or miss. It could be a 20, 30 mile thing here. But as you see, it's holding up its original forecast, with the snow line being from Cincinnati probably to about the Dayton Springfield area in Ohio, and of course through Indiana. It looks like Indianapolis and northwards. You guys are going to see some snowfall from this. But this system is not very long lived. Saturday it's shooting to the Atlantic in a hurry, and once again we could see West Virginia and Virginia get inundated with snow showers like they are right now. Before it's all said and done, by the end of the weekend, this system makes its way off the Atlantic. But now we start to see some development once again in the south for more rain and possible severe weather. And I will go ahead and show the temperatures and see if that supports any kind of severe action. You see the Northeast is a little bit chilly than the rest of the country on that side, but as time moves on, we do start to get some mild air into the Northeast as we move on into the 27th of March, which is Tuesday. And I think I'll stop it right here. Going into Wednesday, we see another storm system taking aim at the Ohio, Mississippi Valley, and it looks to be more heavy rain in areas that's seen their fair share of moisture. So as I look into the future here, the 28th, GFS models are showing, look at this. Goodness, I hope this falls apart. But starting on Wednesday, actually late Tuesday, March 27th, you are going to get a heavy area of rain if you're along the Mississippi Valley. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Missouri. It's just going to stay right over you guys and slowly move off to the east. And as you guys see right here, by the 28th, very heavy rain. We're talking 3 to 6 inches of rain, and it just stalls out. Thursday intensifies. Look at this. It doesn't move. Not until Friday does the system finally start to make its way towards the East Coast, which is all going to be rain for the East Coast. So this is very encouraging stuff here. By the end of March, we're looking at definitely springtime conditions, snow to the far north. It looks like the cold air tries to make its comeback here in the first week of April, believe it or not. But all that snow and cold air is going to stay in the northern plains in the northwestern part of the country. Meanwhile, the majority of the United States will see spring-like conditions. But this is going to be a big concern right here. And I'm going to tell you why this system is stalled out for as long as it is over here in the Mississippi Valley, as it starts to create here somewhere on the March 27th. And if you guys look out into the Atlantic, you'll see a high pressure system that's kind of just stays in place and kind of acts as a gear and just keeps this low pressure system in place for almost 2 days before it finally starts to make its way out. I mean, this thing starts up late Tuesday, actually early Tuesday, it starts to form, and it stays in the same general area all the way through late Thursday before it finally makes its exit. So we are definitely going to keep our eyes on this forecast. This area has already seen flooding, and I tell you what, I'm leaving it right here for now. Look at this intense amount of rain that's going to be along the Mississippi, guys. The Ohio River already seen its share of flooding. Fortunately, nothing as heavy, but you do see here on that earlier that Thursday that heavy rain does reach the Ohio Valley, and it could affect the Ohio River. So this is going to be our next newsmaker right here, folks, next week. Next Wednesday into Thursday, this is going to be the big system that everyone's going to be talking about. Let's hope it falls apart by then. But if I was a betting man, this does look promising as far as moisture in the south and southeast. Now, here's some other good news about this. If there's a silver lining to this weather maker right here, I went all the way back to Sunday, this Sunday. Texas, I know you guys need the rain. Next Monday, let's keep our fingers crossed. We should start to see some scattered shower activity into Tuesday. Most of Texas will have a shot at rain. Light chances, but they're chances. So let's hope that some of this moisture does make its way into Texas. And as we fast forward into Thursday, we see most of Texas, hell, even the northern part of Texas could see some snow showers as cold air tries to make its way throughout the country late March. As old man winter, he paid this month's rent, so he's technically got till April 1st, and he's trying to hang on. But we're definitely trying to evict this guy before the end of this month. So hopefully, Texas, you get some rain out of this system that's going to be kind of hanging around on the east coast of the United States. And after that, like I said, looking into the future cast, it does look to be that we might get to see some calmer weather for the next 5 days after this storm leaves. So this is a good chance for this part of the United States to clean up from floods or even tornadic and severe thunderstorms. Because look, this is only the beginning of spring. We've already seen some massive hail in Texas and Alabama, and GFS is already indicating some serious rain is going to fall on the 27th through the 29th. And again, a lot of it has to do, you've got a high pressure system here in the plains, you've got a high pressure system here in the northeast, and as we move forward into that week, another high pressure system sets up here on the east coast. So this low is technically wedged in between two high pressure systems, and this is how Harvey kind of stuck around in the Houston area for as long as it did, because it had a high pressure system on each side of it that kept it from going east or west. It just kind of stayed in one spot. So not comparing it to the hurricane, but I'm comparing it to the way it's stalling out on us here. So Mari, how's that chat going?
Oh goodness, we have so many great people. It took me a while to scroll up because when I was talking I lost track, and we're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, which is Twitter, and a few other ones. So just monitoring the chat. Everyone's doing okay. A lot of people are asking, where we live, where we want to be. Truthfully, it's hard to say. I know I don't want to be in New York, mainly because, Buffalo has brutal winters to begin with anyway. I do plan on moving. I don't know exactly how life will unfold for me to move in a particular area. I have some ideas in mind, but, I'm just sort of, I know I'll be where I need to be when the time comes, and that's what matters to me. I feel I have time. I think looking into the future, it's not so much me, but setting my daughter up when she's an adult my age to be where she needs to be when, I want to use an acronym, but when
I think too, as far as when it's when the time comes, of course, Mari and I, there's no way we're gonna rough this out. I mean, this is, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, with all the research that we've done, and especially the last couple of days with these paperworks that we're finding about a possible deep grand solar minimum looking like a very likely thing now, when you start talking about glaciation and stuff like that, we're in a glacier zone, according to a lot of scientists. Now, we're not going to be alive to see that glacier zone form, but you better believe that it's like preheating an oven when you're cooking. This is kind of the opposite here, but we're starting to cool off. This zone is getting ready. Mari, one thing that impressed me about Buffalo this year, my first real winter in Buffalo, was the ice jam floods. And in the park this year, when we drove by, the boulders of ice that had floated up.
Videos of that?
I think we got some small footage, not a lot, but we went down there the day before. And what was crazy was that we went down there, we took footage of it, and 2 days later, it was all gone. And very, very shocking. That's why we're flooding so much up here, all this ice melting. But to see these boulders come from the river and move as far as 100 yards into the park, and you look around, and I'm trying to give you a visual what the park looked like. If you guys have ever seen the movie Cocoon, where they had it's a movie from the 80s where they had these cocoons in the pool. It looked like cocoons like that all the way about as big as a football field on both sides of this creek. So it was very alarming to see the ice, and I looked at Mari. It's almost like the ice is starting to grow here. The glaciers are starting to grow because these giant ice boulders were just sitting in the park like they belong there. And of course, once we got,
I'll post the video.
Yeah,
I'll dig it up and I'll just throw it up on the channel so you can see.
Most of you that are from a cold part of the United States, you probably witnessed this. This is my first year in the Northeast as far as winter. I've always been in the Southwest, Ohio, Kansas, or Tennessee. So this is definitely. And Mari, reminds me how normal this winter was. Well, you know, I can't imagine. Well, I'm just saying, I can't imagine what above normal is going to be like.
I mean, definitely
slightly above, because normal's too much for me.
Nor'easter affected coastlines got like lambasted this winter. That's like, wow, never seen anything like that. You know, talking about where people are moving and living to, a lot of people are talking about living underground and stuff. I am very adamant against that because of all the flooding. I guess if you live in a drought area,
well, and
you know,
flooding,
I'm not really comfortable with the whole living underground
but
thing.
we all follow John Casey's work, and you know, alongside with flooding, I'd be worried about earthquakes. I don't know how earthquake-proof bunkers are, you know.
And this is why I tell people, like, it's not easy to plan that far out. You have to sort of be on your toes and evolve as things progress. And the most important thing is to equip yourself with knowledge, survival skills, and, you know, means to survive with, you know, you got to sort of picture yourself without power. You have to picture yourself without a food source, and being able to provide your family with the basic necessities to get by. I mean, if you're prepared mentally and a knowledge base wise to do that, you know, people are portable. We can move wherever. We can migrate and move whatever. You know, planting roots down right now, I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't think there's enough information right now to do it. Certainly, I will not tell people to go dig a hole in the ground and live in it. I just won't do that, and you'll never hear that from this channel. We'll never do that.
All right, well, I think we're about finished here for tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 7:30. We definitely are going to try to keep these daily, and we had some suggestions from people on Twitter earlier today, and also Mari has talked about this, but I think Fridays we're gonna, and tonight we ran a little long, we were almost at the 40-minute mark, but I think on Fridays 7:30 Eastern time, plan on doing an extended hangout with Jake and Mari on the Grand Solar Minimum channel, as we'll go over, you know, space news, weather news, global news, geological news, and have just a general chat with our subscribers and get people more involved with what we're doing here and get them in the discussion. We appreciate everybody who is tuned in right now on various live platforms simultaneously. Again, I want to thank Mari for all the hard work she's done to make that happen for us. And with that being said, guys, stay safe out there, and we'll talk soon.